Hi, my name is Lindsay Hayden, and this is my INBIO 110 final presentation. And today I'm going to be talking about exophthalmos in fish. The purpose of my presentation is to overlook what is exophthalmos, what causes exophthalmos, can an organism recover from it, and how can we potentially relate this topic to humans? At first, when looking over exophthalmos, I originally thought that this would be the kind of trait that I would be looking at, which is this fish's eyes and how big they are. Originally, this is what I thought exophthalmos was, but it turns out that this is actually a type of fish. This is a genetic trait. This is a telescope fish, and its eyes are genetically like this. There is nothing wrong with this fish in terms of exophthalmos from what I can tell from this picture. And this fish actually does have poor eyesight and is more susceptible to illnesses that could include exophthalmos. However, there's nothing wrong with this fish. Exophthalmos in reality is something more like this. You can see on the picture to the right that this fish right here has exophthalmos in its left eye. Exophthalmos is the protrusion of the eye, the abnormal protrusion of the eye from the eye sockets in either one or both eye socket, and it is also referred to as Popeye disease. And the symptoms of exophthalmos include the stretching of the optic nerves and extraocular muscles, which are the muscles outside of the eye, and this causes eyesight to deteriorate and can be very, very irritating for this fish, and it causes them to be disoriented in terms of where they are because of their lack of vision. Having an exophthalmos does make it difficult for fish, whether they are in the wild or they're in a tank, to be able to find food and shelter. If a fish is in the wild, then that makes them more susceptible to being eaten by predators. And if they're in a tank, then if they are living with other fish, then they have the potential to be attacked by those fish and have the inability to defend themselves. Another symptom is also the appearance of gas bubbles that appear in between the sclera, this outer layer of the eye, and gas bubbles can appear anywhere in between these layers of the eye. There are various causes of exophthalmos. However, the appearance of it usually indicates that there is another problem going on. An example of this would be gas bubble disease, which is the presence of air bubbles throughout the bloodstream. And it is also a sign of a bacterial infection, and neoplasia, which is the abnormal growth of cells or tissues. And this also can appear just due to overall head trauma or eye trauma. Now, the recovery of this fish does kind of depend on how your exophthalmos is. If the fish is in a tank and it is being cared for, then there are various aquarium salts that can be put into the tank to help the fish heal. Salts are very good for healing wounds on fish. And it's also important to have frequent water changes. And if the water ends up becoming an irritant for the fish, adjusting the pH and altering some of the chemicals that are within the water could be beneficial. The most important thing, however, through this process of recovery is the monitoring of this, checking on the fish daily and making sure that symptoms are not getting worse, making sure that they're on the right track to being healthy is very important. If exophthalmos is getting worse, then there needs to be something else done, or it is possible that the fish has reached a point where they cannot be helped, because it is possible for exophthalmos to develop in a way that cannot be reversed. Now, something that I ran into throughout my presentation was the existence of exophthalmos in humans. If you were to look this up, a lot of what comes up is human symptoms. This is one of the images that is a little more tame. This person has a much less developed exophthalmos than others. It is varying degrees of intensity. And in humans, this can be caused by something called Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and causes hyperthyroidism. And this can cause the tissue around the eyes to become inflamed and swollen. And that is the most common occurrence in humans as to why that happens. And in humans, this causes discomfort, pain, dryness of the eyes, and difficulty in maneuvering the eyes, just looking around and also closing them. The treatment for this would be, if someone has Graves' disease, to focus on the thyroid and fixing that issue. It can get to a point where surgery is required, and the longer it is left untreated, the worse it will be. The same goes for fish. At times, it is irreversible. So exophthalmos in fish does occur very differently than I originally imagined. At first, I thought that it was more of a genetic trait. However, that is not the case. It is something that can be very devastating to the fish's life. And if you happen to own a fish, I hope that now you have the ability to recognize exophthalmos and be able to help improve your fish's life. Thank you.